Hi, my name is Joe, and welcome to another edition of Joe's Technology. I put out this video, Joe's Dirt Cheap PC for January 2015. And then I had second thoughts. If you haven't seen the video, here's the short version. Basically, I'm putting out lots of videos on YouTube, and it's fun. I enjoy it. It's one way to get noticed. You put out gobs of videos. I just want to back the dump truck up and just load YouTube up with videos. My ISP hates it. They're throttling me. They're not supposed to do that, but I know that's what they're doing, so that's all right. It goes with the territory. So, as I was putting together the price list for the Dirt Cheap PC, you know, I don't have any sponsors. My channel's too small. So anything that you see me put together is something I paid my own hard-earned money for. And the cheapest thing that I could find, which is detailed in this video, is an AMD Sempron. It's a quad core, but it's only 1.3 gigahertz. In fact, the Sempron kind of had a bit of a rep as not the go-to CPU if you wanted to make a home theater system and had trouble just keeping up with 1080p playback. 720p, no problem. So in the video I mentioned that if you're looking at this configuration that I'm putting together, which included a terabyte hard drive, you know, because I wanted to be able to dump uncompressed video on there so that the Sempron could chew it up and turn them into H.264, you know, nice compressed video to transmit to YouTube, you know, less smaller video files, quicker to transmit through the internet. And the thing that kept bugging me is that I thought to myself, all right, you know, you picked a really cheap processor. I think it was like $35. But my fear was that I would put out so many videos that my drives would fill up and they'd be backed up waiting for that Sempron to crunch them. And I basically end up clogging the drain, you know. Instead of being my, you know, go-to PC for transcoding, this thing would turn into a septic tank. And I know, maybe that's a bad analogy, but it would be overflowing with videos, and it would, you know, that CPU, I was worried would not be able to crunch them fast enough and get them transcoded so that they could get, you know, sent up to YouTube. So I kept thinking about it. They're cheap processors. They're a little bit more expensive than the Sempron, but they're a whole lot more capable. You know, and the Sempron, because I was looking at a $35 processor, heck, even if I doubled it, we're still talking less than, what, you know, $60, $70 for a CPU. I think I could do better than the Sempron. I like AMD. I wanted to put together an AMD build, but for the money, because it's my money, and because this is going to be a very important little PC, I gotta go to Intel. I like Intel too. I just wanted to throw AMD a bone and, you know, put together something from AMD. My last AMD build was a gigabyte bricks, and it basically comes fully assembled other than memory and storage. Oh well. I am enjoying my bricks, by the way. It runs with an A8, so pretty good CPU, not bad. But in this case, I'm going to have to go away from the dirt cheap PC, and so now it's the transcoding PC. So let's go ahead and get started. If you've never been to this site before, because maybe you've never seen one of my videos, PCPartPicker.com is a vendor-neutral site which is designed specifically to help PC builders. So you can pick out the various components, CPUs, motherboards, memory, storage, video card, power supply, and case, put them together here in this virtual environment. PC Part Picker will let you know if you've picked parts that are incompatible for whatever reason, and it will offer you links to all the big vendors that are selling it. This place is vendor neutral, so it tells you which of the big vendors currently is offering the best price. I don't know how often they poll, but it seems to be pretty quick, because I've never seen it quote me a price that was wrong. So I keep coming back to PC Part Picker. Plus, this site has saved me from accidentally buying things that were not compatible. So I keep coming back. I love PCPartPicker.com. It's a long overdue service. So let's get started. Alright, so we mentioned that we had looked at an AMD Sempron. Specifically, it was the AMD Sempron 3850 previously. And, oh, look, it's even cheaper, I think. I think it was $35 the last time I was looking at it. Now it's $32. Hopefully I'm remembering that price correctly. 1.3 gigahertz, 4 cores. It's not a bad processor. It probably would be great for a CPU for a little, file server that's not going to take too much of a beating, but like I said, my fear is the computer fills up with files just waiting to be transcoded, and then it runs out of disk space. I don't want that to happen. I want to just go crazy, video capture everything. Not that anybody actually looks at my channel, but hey, maybe someday. So I have to go with something a little bit more expensive, but one that has already developed a legend for itself. Yes. So in the inexpensive market, especially if you're looking at Intel, right now, the talk of the town is the Intel G3258. This is the 20th anniversary Pentium processor. It's unlocked, by the way. I'm not going to bother to overclock it. I just wanted to sit in the corner and transcode. But hey, if something better comes along, and this gets repurposed, it could be overclocked and thrown a GPU, and this might be a nice little gaming computer. But for the interim, well, at least for my use, I'm just going to use it for transcoding. Now, granted, there's only 2 cores in the 3258, but they're unlocked. And a lot of people are getting very good results overclocking this thing to, 4.6, 4.7 gigahertz easily without having any problems. I'm just going to leave it at 3.2. Like I said, this computer sits in the corner and transcodes video. And because it's not going to get too hot, I'm not even going to bother with a CPU cooler. So I'll just go ahead, and this will probably be one of the only times you see me build a computer and actually use the stock cooler. Now, one other thing that most of the equipment that I had picked for my dirt cheap PC, I still want to go ahead and use here. The only things that I'm basically changing out is some of the basic stuff. I mean, the power supply is the same, the case is the same, the drive is the same, even the memory is the same, the CPU and motherboard. So I'm a big fan, if you've seen my videos before, and it's not because they pay me, it's because their stuff always seems to work. I've never had any problems with it, never had any DOAs. Here, let's see. And I know exactly which I'm looking for. Here, let's see. Whoops. DS3H. There can be only one. In this case, it's the Gigabyte GA-B85M DS3H. I'm a big fan of Gigabyte. Again, Gigabyte does not sponsor me. They don't give me any money. They don't even send me review samples. But all the stuff that I bought from them, nothing has shown up DOA. And so far, none of the stuff that I bought has died. I'm still flogging all the Gigabyte parts that I've bought. And I work these things, well, a lot of hours, so I've had good luck. So I keep buying Gigabyte. So then here, let's pick some memory. If you saw my previous video, this should be no surprise. It's the good old, let's see, here we go, Corsair. And the transcoding computer needs a little bit of memory, so we'll go ahead and go with Corsair, 4 gigabyte. Well, you know what? I'm probably going to have to look here. It's not going to be in the description. Let's see. We want 4 gigabytes in 2 gigabyte sticks, and we'll make them 133. So here we go. For storage is going to be the same also if you saw the previous video. In this case, I'm just going to go with the Western Digital. Again, I've never had any problems with Western Digital drives, and so I'm motivated to continue to use them. And there's one in particular that is really not that expensive, which would be the WD, let's see, 10 EZEX. Whoops, there we go. Yeah. So as you can see, it's a 7200 RPM drive. It has 1 terabyte. Space, if I recall correctly, I believe this is a SATA 3 device. Oh, come on. It doesn't say here? It should have the interface. You know what? Here, we'll go over to Newegg. They usually will have that stuff very easily. Am I just not seeing it? Form factor 3.5, blah, blah, blah. There you go. SATA 6 gigabit is another way of saying whoops. Uh-oh. Come on. We just want to look at the technical details. I guess New A got a little crazy there for a second. SATA 6 gigabit is another way of saying SATA 3. So this is a SATA 3 device. And this is significant because, and here's the other thing that got me. As I was looking at the dirt sheet PC, it only had 2 SATA connectors. That's it. 2 SATA. They were both 6 gigabit, you know, SATA 3 devices, but there was only 2 of them. And then I looked at this motherboard for the G3258, and well, it'll take other processors as well. I mean, you can jam an i7 in here if you wanted to. But as you can see, the Celeron and the Pentium are on the low end, nice and cheap. But here's the beauty. Look at all these SATA connectors. 8 instead of 2. 3 of which are SATA 3 connectors, 2 of which are SATA 2 connectors. So it just makes it too irresistible. You know, the transcoding computer does a good job, but say for example I still have problems where maybe that CPU backs up a little bit. I can add more drives, and so, you know, instead of overflowing the hard drive that I give it, I could just jam more drives in there, and they're not that expensive. So, you know, a little $50, you know, Western Digital 1 terabyte, you know, get a few more as time goes by. Video card we're not going to bother with. We're going to use the onboard video, which is already built into the 3258. For case, again, you've seen me use this case before if you've seen my other videos. So I'm just going to go with the NZXT Source 210. The nice thing about this case is that for a cheap case, you know, it's like $30, there are a whole lot of, oh, well, I guess they have a little rebate, 50 minus whatever the mail-in rebate is for the case. I guess I'll have to look for that when I do my order so that I can send in the rebate. The nice thing about this is that it has lots of space for drives. So if I wanted to, you can go nuts and put all kinds of 3.5-inch drives, which is perfect since this motherboard supports so many drives. If you happen to see one of my other builds, I've used this motherboard before and I liked it so much that I had to get another one. For power supplies, since we're not doing anything crazy with GPUs or anything like that, we just need a CPU powered, the board powered, and potentially a few drives. I'm just going to go with our good old buddy Corsair again. Again, Corsair doesn't pay me. You know, I don't get any review samples. I spend my own money, and Corsair hasn't wronged me yet. No DOAs, nothing I've ever had to return. All the power supplies I bought from them still work. Some of which I've had for years, so I keep buying them. I still get a lot of mileage out of them, and plus this is a nice bronze certified ATX power supply. It's 430 watts, so it should have no trouble powering the motherboard, CPU, memory, you know, and hard drives, however many I want to go ahead and jam in there. We're not going to bother with an optical drive. This is strictly a network computer, so it's going to do all of its work through its network capacity. In fact, it looks like that's our entire part list. Operating system, I'm not picking one because the operating system that this computer is getting is not listed here. Notice it only says Microsoft Windows. Come on, PCPartPicker, don't be in denial. There's Linux. Granted, there's no money in it because Linux is free. So when my parts arrive, my transcoding computer is going to run Linux Mint. If you're curious, it'll probably be Linux Mint 17.1 at the time of this, the recording of this video. And, you know, I'll probably record with Handbrake, which has been a great little transcoding software. And that's basically all it's going to do is just sit there in a corner and do Handbrake all day and all night. But because I picked Linux Mint, it's also useful as a general purpose workstation. So, you know, if the other computers are busy doing something, and, you know, I could sit there and browse the web, hit Facebook, you know, do silly things on YouTube with that computer while it's busy doing other things as well. So it's still a nice little machine to utilize as a regular desktop, and even though it's in the background transcoding all the time. So that's why we're not putting an operating system here. PCPartPicker. You need to get with the times. There are other OSs besides Windows. Expansion cards, displays, peripherals, accessories. I'm reusing existing monitors and keyboards and mice, and so I have nothing to put in there. So this is it. This is the whole total. Yeah, there are combo discounts and rebates. So supposedly afterwards, it should only be $262. So let me save this configuration. Let's see, where was that save? Here we go. So this will be Joe's Transcoder. For January 2015. Now here's why I did this. I was originally going to make the dirt cheap PC. Notice the dirt cheap PC 217. Remember, that's with the Sempron, only 1.3 gigahertz with 4 cores, and a motherboard that only has 2 SATA connectors. But for $50 more, you know, assuming all the discounts are the same, as it's and PCPartPicker is pretty good about that. I get the ability to have 8 SATA connectors and a more powerful processor. Granted, I get only 2 cores instead of 4, but overall it's a much more powerful one. Instead of 1.3 gigahertz, it's 3.2, and there's 2 cores running at that. So when you add it up, instead of an overall 4 gigahertz-ish of performance, you end up with 6 gigahertz-ish of performance, you know, adding up the different cores. The G3258 is not a hyper-threaded processor, if you were curious, so it's just going to look like 2 cores to the system. But that's fine. That's it's probably going to compress a lot faster. In fact, one of the things that also got my attention, and here, let's see if we have it. I was looking at this budget CPU roundup, and I guess this was the other thing that kind of swayed me away from the Sempron. I like the Sempron. I love the idea of it. I just didn't want to trust that as my one and only way to compress a video. Because here we are. Here's the Sempron 3850, which was actually the exact CPU I was looking at. Notice it's down here on the bottom. But just above the A4. And then as we go up here, all the way up here, look, and this is handbrake compression, we have the G3220. Now, granted, this is not the 3258, but the 3258's compression would have to be close to what the 3220's is, maybe a little bit better. And, you know, like I said, for $50, you have something that is compressing just about twice as fast, probably. So that would make a big difference. That's why I went ahead and switched over to the G3258 instead of sticking with the original AMD Sempron 3850 that I had thought about. So enjoy. I'll go ahead and put a link to this build down in the bottom. Whoops, here, let me get to the right one. So here, I'll put this at the bottom of the video. You'll be able to look at my parts list yourself in case this is of any interest to you. This can actually be a pretty good gaming computer, just as your favorite GPU. There are lots of good ones available right now, both from ATI and NVIDIA. You know, the R9 series are great. NVIDIA's new 900 series is out. You know, the 960 is your budget one, 970 a little bit more, the 980 if you just want the best of the best. So enjoy, and join me next time on Joe's Super Fantabulous. Oh, whoops, I'm misspeaking. Joe's Super Fantabulous PC Gaming channel. That's the other channel. It's all video games. Sorry, been doing a lot of video games lately. I'm used to saying it. Enjoy, and this has been another edition of Joe's Technology. See you next time.